see your lips, those sunburned kisses, those sunburned hands I used to hold. Since you went away, the days, they grow long, and soon we'll hear old winter song. But I miss you most of all, my darling. When autumn leaves begin to fall, begin to fall.
I just want to say that through my years of participation in COMCAS, I've never seen a, how shall I say, a more determined, goal-driven and successful sponsor, in fact, creator of a conference than Shmuel. And everything COMCAS has become is really because of his tremendous efforts. It really impresses your friends. Thank you, Shmuel.
Thank you, Shmuel. And as I said, thank you to everybody who's here tonight and who supports the IEEE COMCAS. Mini Circuits has been a big part of this event since the founding, and we've been, I think it's fair to say that we've been a big part of the RF and microwave community in Israel since Mini Circuits was founded in 1968. We're here to honor Harvey for his personal contribution and his commitment to the program. You know, I myself, I've had the pleasure to work for Harvey, with Harvey, for over 10 years. The first time I ran across Mini Circuits, it was in designing one of my first projects. I had to design a switch filter bank, and it was using SAW filters, so I had a lot of loss, and I needed some gain. And it's 1984, 1985, and so what do? You need gains. You get a transistor, and you're gonna bias a transistor. And the guy in the cubicle next to me said, "Hey, you know, we have these new things out there that are called MMIC. So why don't you use that? You don't have to do anything. You can just stick it in, and it works." So you go to your magazines, and I saw the Mini Circuits catalog was in the magazines, and I picked a mimic amplifier from Mini Circuits, and the guy next to me says, "You know, you can't use that part. No way. That thing is too cheap. You know, it can't be any good." And in fact, the guy who owns that company used to work here. He used to work here. He left here about 10 years ago, and he started this company. He's making all this cheap electronics. You know, you can't use that. Those of you who know Harvey, you understand how disciplined Harvey was and how committed to his cause. And that was what really you know, personifies Harvey Kaylie, is he never gave up, ever, in anything he did. He stuck to his values, and to be honest with you, he ended up proving us all wrong. You know, he was one guy, and he was right. And he proved that you can manufacture high quality, high performance parts at a low cost. And he used quality and process as his weapons in business. And those weapons he succeeded in building this amazing, amazing company. And what I learned from Harvey, I watched him, and Harvey never compromised, and he lived life on his own terms.
So I will say, my husband, he was the brain, and I was the big mouth, okay? And that's it. The first time he asked, we were married 57 years, and after a few years, I always worked for him, never with him. It's called Shalom Bayit, peace at home, okay? And when the first time he asked me to come to a conference, I said, how can I go? I don't know anything. He says, that's exactly why I'm sending you. You'll bring in the engineers, and then you have our engineers take over. The first year I went, I said, you know, they say such nice things about us. He says, I am not sending you there to hear nice things. I'm sending you to find out if there's anything we're doing wrong or if there's something they need. This was him. It was customer. I love the conference, okay? I love a lot of people came over and said real nice things about my husband, which I think is true. And I'm wearing Space IL. We were a sponsor of it, but if I were to brag, we were a small sponsor, but we were one of the first sponsors. For some of you that don't know, Bereshit in the beginning it was to go to the moon, okay, which is a big deal, okay? And you can't say we failed. We just landed in pieces, okay? And we left an impression, okay? But the big thing is, the very big thing, is that it was very good for the children because they got very involved in science. And you should all know the children are the future. And he brought me this that he had made because he's involved with science for the children here in Israel. So thank you very much. Kol Tov to everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Shmuel, for this beautiful commemoration in memory of my father. There's so much to say about my father, but what I would like to share is that we were lucky to he wrote an autobiography, which you're all invited to have a copy on the way out. His next project was going to be about mini circuits and what he did and his opinion of why it was successful. The book wasn't written in the end. However, he said that the book would be about succeeding in business is achieved when you apply your personal values to your business. He believed that when you do that, your customers, your suppliers, your employees will stick with you. We are the only company, I'm proud to say, who has won the President's Award more than once. We recently won it our third time. We didn't think we would win it this time because we did have a problem with return material. And so we felt that this year we unfortunately wouldn't be able to get it. But we did. And why? Because of our values. On the form letter that we received with the prize, they wrote in handwriting, "We really appreciate your EOL policy. Thank you." In our industry, as you know, when the raw material is no longer available, to continue supplying the parts is very challenging. If we have a $1,500 order and it costs us $15,000 to redesign, we'll redesign it for you. We feel that commitment to be there for you. We believe that, as Ted mentioned and as my mother, Gloria, mentioned, that when you do apply your personal values to your business, it's actually a win-win for everybody. Thank you.
Number one, how we met. We met in the Microwave Journal. In 1997, we started at the university a wireless and microwave technology lab. We call it the WHAMMY Lab. And we had all this nice equipment from Hewlett-Packard to teach students the next generation about wireless and microwave technology, but we didn't have any components to measure. And our idea was to build systems and components, and I thought mini circuits would be a perfect partner, you know, looking at the magazines and so on. And there was an editorial, and Harvey's picture was there, president of Mini Circuits, and I thought, perfect. So I wrote him a letter, and I told him we'd like you to sponsor our lab. Finally, I talked to a lady named Rosemary, who's still Ted's executive secretary, and she said, well, he got your letter. And so about 3 or 4 calls later, the short story is that he said, okay, he's read your letter. That was the intermediate call. And then finally that, okay, he's going to sponsor your lab, but you have to stop calling. So he came down, and we toured the lab, and he fell in love with our lab. And he really liked the passion that we brought into the students. And if you know Harvey, he was very hands-on. And he just really loved that the students were just building stuff, testing stuff, and so on. And in the end, he said, you put the whammy on me. You did it. You put the whammy on me. When he visited, he planted a seed. And he said, did you ever think about starting a company? And could you start a company? And would you be interested in starting a company? And of course, I said, yes, we thought about it, right? And he said, okay, well, you know, why don't you write me a business plan? And so I did. And the short story is we now have Modalytics. But in between, he gave us a lot of advice. And one of the pieces of advice he gave us was, first of all, you have to be very focused. And he said, your focus as a small company needs to be like a laser beam. And he said, most small companies fail because they start out doing one thing, and they run into a little bit of financial difficulties, as some small companies do, and they start chasing different things, and they get defocused. He said, you need to stay focused like a laser beam. Decide what you do, decide what you want to be the best in the world at, and just stick with it. We had this idea to really make sure that we had kind of a broad spectrum of coverage. And I wrote him this proposal, and I said, okay, I think you're going to like this proposal because I have a very strong cost share component. And he says, okay, how much? I said, how about free? He says, now we're talking. The man had a huge heart, and he really liked to have a lot of impact. And he really had a lot of impact on me, on the company that wouldn't have existed if he didn't say, why don't you start a company?
We remember Harvey Kaylie as a pioneer in the industry, and in many ways, and I remember him as a pioneer in advertising. It's my understanding that when he launched Mini Circuits 50 years ago, he decided to forego the usual sales channels, and instead he saturated the market with advertising, which continues to this day, and as a publisher was fine with us, and I'm happy to say I think that was a very successful strategy. So as a young sales guy with Microwave Journal many, many years ago, I was assigned the Mini Circuits account. So I'd get down there and I'd sit in the lobby and waiting for an audience with the man. And we would finally meet and discuss the ad program, and we always came to an agreement. He was tough, but he was fair, and he always did what he said he was going to do, which was always important. I came down one year, and that year, and I told Harvey that I'd made the decision that I wasn't going to put any companies on the cover anymore. So he looked me up and down, and he said, "You've got guts." Although I think he used a different word. And but we discussed it, and he was a reasonable guy, and so he basically, I think, understood, and finally over time agreed. And I think after that, I felt like I had won his respect, and I kind of knew that because every one of my stays in the lobby became shorter and shorter over the years. It was an honor to work with him, and it's an honor to be here to tribute him tonight.
Never without you, within you without you. Here comes the sun is about you. Here today, not alone with my memories. Life is strange, how things change, it's reality.
Hello everybody. Hey Shmuel, I really have to say COMCAS is first class. It's really excellent. Based on this really mathematical stuff, we made a rap song, you know? And we really show circuit design is very attractive. You can see this in the text where we say, if you learn circuit design, your life will be so fine.
If you learn circuit design, your life will be so fine. You will be a star drinking champagne at the